Hello, everyone. This is Rabab Alma. Welcome back to the 30 weeks Days of Confidence project. Um, this is Rabab Alma. I am licensed marriage and family therapist and international life coach, and I will be hosting Jennifer Ozgur. I am so excited to have her. I'm gonna connect with her now. Let's see. I'm gonna invite her. Okay. Let's see. I'm gonna. So the focus of this project, I'm gonna talk about the focus of the project while she's joining or connecting with us. The focus of this project is to promote wellness and let's see, is to promote wellness and confidence, to give tips on confidence and wellness to the audience. These slides and interviews are not meant for to replace medical or professional help. They are meant for general tips only. Let me check with Jennifer. Yes, and I approve. Hello, Jennifer.
Hello, how are you?
Um,
I had to rotate my phone horizontally in order to get this to work, so now I have to reposition things if you give me a moment.
no problem. No problem at all. Take your time. I'm gonna talk about the focus of the project while you get ready. So again, this project is meant to promote wellness to the audience. It's also meant to give tips to the parents, to the students before back to school day. Um, the host or the guest usually give us tips and stories from his or her professional or personal life in correlation to confidence in their lives or in their clients, in their patients, whatever their profession is. Again, these slides and interviews are meant for general info only. They are not meant for or to replace medical or professional help. We'll wait for seconds while Jennifer joins us.
Okay, sorry about that.
No
Talking
problem.
about confidence, right?
Well, I mean, that's the point, to keep our confidence while life happens, things happen. Technology sometimes, give us some tricks.
I know, and I'm trying to arrange it so I don't look like some type of giant with this angle is like not the best, but can you hear me though,
I
at
can
least?
hear you and I can see you.
Okay, well,
That
okay, I
looks
think
good.
that's looking
Yeah,
pretty
that
good.
looks good.
Okay.
Okay. So welcome, Jennifer. Thank you for joining. I really appreciate it that you are with us
Thank
on the
you.
show today. So let me introduce Jennifer. Jennifer Ozgur. She is a speaker, a facilitator, an author, and a consultant and a coach. And she will talk today about her experience and her work with parents, schools, and other venues. So Jennifer, I will turn it to you. Tell us about
Thank
your
you.
work, what you do.
Sure. What I've been doing is, well, for the past 19 years, I've been an English teacher. For the first 13 years, I was doing middle school, and then I segued into high school. And this year, I've been doing seniors, which is really exciting
Uh-huh.
time in their lives to get them prepared for their next chapter.
Absolutely.
And in 2016, I had taken a professional sabbatical
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to get involved in all kinds of projects that normally you just don't have the time to dedicate, because it's very consuming to be with, especially as an English teacher, having over 100 students every year, grading papers, planning. So when I was away from the classroom in 2016, I got involved in some nonprofits, learning different strategies, and then I worked them back into the classroom. And what I'm doing now is integrating all of that. And as you mentioned, I'm working with teachers outside of my school district, parents as well, to take everything that I've been learning and use that as a platform to help outside of the classroom with my students, but to benefit other classrooms and families as well.
Perfect. So again, for those who are just joining us, this is Rabab Alma, licensed marriage and family therapist and international life coach, and I have the pleasure of having Jennifer Ozgur today. She's a teacher, a speaker, facilitator, and author. She has a book. Let me remind you of the book. It is the 1 Million Kisses, The Promise on 153. This book is on Amazon if you would like to purchase it or read it. So back to Jennifer. So what made you do this, take this sabbatical, and what was the motive behind this move?
Well, when my daughter was born, I wrote a poem about how many times I was kissing her, because it seemed like it was a countless amount of times. And I did the math, and I realized that if you were to have a goal of kissing your child 1,000,000 times, if you made the promise to kiss them 153 times a day from the time that they're born until the time that they turn 18, you'll have kissed them 1,000,000 times.
Wow.
So I wrote this poem, and I was doing research on how important it is to show affection, and actually the neuroscience behind it, showing affection, kissing, hugging, especially when they're very young. And that was a springboard. I met a children's author, or rather a children's publisher, who is also a children's author, and he's all over the country. And I was telling him what my theory was behind the 153 and the promise. And he saw what I saw as far as my goal for writing the book, to get parents to be very involved and affectionate towards their children. And he offered to publish it. And when that came out in May of 2016, we were coming with all kinds of different ideas on how to promote it, how I can take my experience in the classroom and go across the country to schools and talk about what it's like being a poet and an author. So that's why I took that sabbatical, was to work more on my poetry and my writing. And before you know it, I got involved in a whole bunch of other nonprofits, and that's what prompted me to do all my work.
Amazing. So when you talk about showing children affection, as a therapist, we know how important this is in terms of forming this healthy attachment with children. And the first important, the main important attachment for the child is with their parents, specifically the mother. So that's fascinating when you talk about the 1,000,000 kisses. And as a mother, this is amazing, actually.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the theme of this project is confidence. So what do you think, as a teacher, as a mother, and as an author, interacting with parents and teachers and everyone, so what do you think we do or people do to undermine confidence within themselves or within their children?
All right. So I think as a teacher, because I've been doing that for so long, I'll focus on that first. When a child is starting to struggle and parents want to come in and prevent further struggle, we're very well-meaning in that, because we don't want to see our children struggle. But when we do that, I think that's actually sending a message to the child that I don't trust you, that you're going to figure this out on your own. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a big thing. I see that a lot with parents wanting to advocate for their child or their student, which is very important, but sometimes they advocate before they give their child the opportunity to self-advocate. Mm-hmm. So I think that is something as well to we want to prevent and be proactive so our children don't get into situations that could potentially harm them. But when it's not of some type of dire consequence, where we are able to trust that our children are going to figure it out, I think that is when we don't allow them to do that, I think that prevents or undermines the opportunity for growth and for them to build their own confidence.
I agree. I think also the fact that when we want to protect our children from failing, um, that's another concept to think about, because failure is part of life. So when we try to protect our children from failure, then we are telling them that failure is not okay. And sometimes failure is necessary for us to learn. I'm not saying that let them like cross the street and just bear the consequence. I'm talking about like if they decide not to do the homework, for instance, instead of like really stepping in and doing it on their behalf, let them bear the consequences sometimes to see the consequences of their decision, and to build that stamina that I can do it, and if I don't do it, there are consequences. So that kind of like gives them that balance, which is very important for their confidence, if you will.
I agree. And when we try to prevent failure, we're also saying the message to them that failure is not okay. We're expecting, the opposite of failure would be perfection.
Perfection.
There, right? And that's very unrealistic, I feel. Do we expect to be perfect ourselves? And that bar is so high that I think that actually can cause anxiety too. And anxiety is really like the opposite, in my mind, of confidence. So if you're preventing failure and telling them that failure is not an option, then it's raising the bar so high so that they don't feel free enough to just explore on their own and figure it out as they go along.
Yeah, they are so sucked in this anxiety, so they don't have the chance to flourish and try, because when you feel that you're free, so you try and you know that you can try again, even if you feel you're going to stand up again. But if you don't do it, if you don't try, then that fear can prevent a child, even for us adults, from really moving forward, if you will. So again, for those who are joining us, this is Rabab Alma, licensed marriage and family therapist and international life coach. I have the honor to interview Jennifer Ozgur tonight, and she is a teacher, a facilitator, an author, and a consultant. And I'm having a conversation with her about confidence. And so the next topic we want to talk about, what do you think about when you see children in your classroom or you encounter with low self-esteem? How do you notice this? What kind of behaviors you see it in classrooms or in behaviors with other students?
I think a lot of times it's the low self-confidence is seen through maybe not very much eye contact. I think a lot of that times, if from a student standpoint, if they make eye contact with the teacher, that's giving permission for them to be called on. So they always look down. Please don't call on me. Please don't call on me. Because as soon as you look up, oh, what do you think? So that sometimes I think it's the lack of a sense of humor, or the lack of being, kind of happy-go-lucky. If I don't get it right, I can try next time. So I see that, the not wanting to raise their hand, not wanting, kind of what you were saying too, like going back to the failure. If I give the wrong answer, am I going to be looked at as stupid or failing in that way? On the flip side, a child who's confident, they really don't have a whole lot of concern whether or not things are going to work out okay, because they feel confident that no matter what happens, I can bounce back. It's going to be okay. And it's not, the stakes are not so high for them.
So they feel that confidence is from within. They don't need people's approval. It's like they don't care about their image in front of people that much. it doesn't matter what the other classmates will think of them, if you will.
Yes, and there are some that are right on the cusp because I can see they're listening, they're paying attention, they want to give an answer or they want to ask a question. There's a look you can see where they maybe look up at the sky for something, or you see just the way they breathe is a little different because they're maybe a little bit more on the edge of their seat. And to say, well, I noticed, I think you have something to say. I think you noticed something. Do you want to share with the class? And you look, you can see that they want to say something. And if you just say to them, it's okay, just tell me what you think. If it's not right, we'll help each other out. Just, I want to hear what your thoughts are about that poem or what someone just wrote, their reaction, and to let them know that whatever they're thinking is okay because we're all in this together. I'm not necessarily looking for a right or wrong answer. I just want to know it's about the process. It's about your opinion. And everyone gets to have an opinion and everyone's opinion is valid. And a lot of that is through trust too, because they're coming into my classroom. They don't know who I am. They don't know the expectations that I have, how they can meet them. And after a while, once I create that atmosphere in the classroom, that it's a safe space, that they're not going to be judged, that all opinions are welcome. And if something is incorrect, let's figure out what the right answer is together. Then you can really see their guard let down and then they're a lot more open.
Yeah, it's a confidence and trust, if you will.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you, Fatima, for joining us. I see a lot of people joining us. Thank you. If you have any comments or questions, please have them on the comment section and I will look over them. So we talked about, me and you, Jennifer, about the professional training that you're doing for in schools and interacting with the adults. So tell us more about that. It's very exciting to hear. I mean, when we talked and we talk about that, I'm very excited to hear about that.
Sure, thank you. A lot of the information that I have is on my Facebook page. Mm-hmm. I have a list of all of the different courses that I offer, and that's on, it's called Genformation. So it's JEN and then formation, FORMATION. Mm-hmm. And where I'm going in the direction is a lot of trauma-informed classes, brain-based classes, the very basics of neuroscience. We're not looking to give people a degree in it. It's constantly evolving and changing. It's just scratching the surface what I give. But basically, the understanding of some very basic processes that the brain goes through when they're confronted with stress, how to prevent trauma. I also take some of those theories and put it into an acronym called the 4 Verbs of Love. Mm-hmm. So that's a class. So I have the 4 Verbs of Love as a class. I have a mindfulness classroom for teachers. I have the Poverty and the Brain, Trauma and the Brain. I have Change Your Language, Change Their Lives, where what you're saying to children can really affect them. A lot of those are offered that I give is through the Trans Ed Alliance out of Baltimore. So it's a huge nonprofit that is dedicated to trauma-informed instruction. So that's the certification that I went through. Anything that has its root in neuroscience, that's through Trans Ed Alliance. And then the other ones are more through my own observations as a teacher and mother.
Wonderful. So in your opinion, what do you think the changes someone can make to boost their confidence in terms of a parent? Because we parents lead by leadership. We lead by example. So how do you explain that to a parent? How do you teach that in your classrooms or in your workshops?
How we as parents can make our children feel more confident?
Yes.
Is what you're saying?
Yes. How do we lead by example, if you will? How do we show them
Sure.
to be confident, and then they will learn from us, if you will?
Well, kind of like what you said is learning and leading through example is they'll learn what confidence looks like when we as parents are confident, right?
Yes.
So I think a lot of it is if we're very mindful about our internal dialogue that we tell ourselves, many times comes out of our mouths. And to really be careful what we're saying and what the children are hearing us say about ourselves and any negative self-talk that we have. I think it's very, very common to do that, to say something bad about yourself and self-deprecatory, but they hear that and they internalize that. And A, they think it's okay to talk badly about yourself. And B, they look up to us as role models. And if we're saying something bad ourselves about us and they came from us, then that's like a double negative on them. So if I say, you know, something about, oh, you know, I need to lose weight, I don't like the shape of my body, or I don't like my face, and then they hear that, then they think, oh, well, how do I look? Should I be concerned about me? Well, you know, I come from my parents, so if they think that they're not pretty, then maybe I'm not pretty because so that type of thoughts, that when we say anything negative about ourselves, they automatically latch on to that. Or, you know, if we make a mistake and we left our dinner in the oven too long and it didn't turn out well, and oh, you know, oh, that was so stupid, I can't believe I did that, oh, you know, I'm no good, and they hear us say that, then they're going to say the same thing when they make a mistake. Oh, I'm so stupid, I can't believe I did that, I hate myself. So on the flip side, to keep a sense of humor, to keep a sense of gratefulness about everything that happens. And even if an accident happens, to say, oh, you know, this is an opportunity to learn. That's so great. What are we going to learn from this? And that whole model of resiliency. So to feel empowered that I'm a great person and the things that I do are going to yield great results. And even if that doesn't happen, it's an opportunity for me to grow and learn even more. I think that's a great way to model confidence.
Absolutely. I see that in my practice. You know, sometimes like parents bring their children for therapy for whatever reason, and then you see a resemblance between what the child is doing and the parent. And you kind of like, at some point you want to do this family therapy, and sometimes you want to just, I want to do just see the parents without the children to point this out. Because, you know, children usually learn from home. And it's important for us parents to look at ourselves and see what we are modeling, what we are doing, and the children are learning or reacting to what's happening in the house and the environment around them, if you will. So
I agree.
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, since you know you spend a lot of time with the families, I do that too during parent-teacher conferences, during special ed IEP meetings, and a lot of the mindset of the parent will come out during those meetings. And to have that very fixed mindset to say, oh, you know, my child isn't a good reader, my child's always had problems with writing, my child has anxiety, there's paperwork, you know, I understand them wanting to share with the teacher their perception of their child, and that's nice, but I also get concerned when I hear them saying that, because the more we label our children and say you know, they have problems with this, they have problems with that, it's really that fixed mindset and perpetuates some of those, as opposed to framing it in maybe a slightly different way or a positive way, or letting me have the opportunity to figure out from my perspective what I feel the strengths and weaknesses are, and let the child have that opportunity, because maybe they did have problems a couple years ago. This is a new year. There's an opportunity to explore and find out that maybe there is some different growth. So I echo what you're saying with to be mindful of what they say about their child to therapists or to teachers, not only in front of the child, but also when the child can't hear it, because the more you say things, you reinforce that
Humanity.
behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You manifest it. It's like it's a label that you give the child. You know what I mean? You see that sometimes in the family, you see that child is labeled as smart, but the other one is not as good. Maybe this one is, you know, we label the children sometimes. You see that in families, and they grow up with these preconceived notions, if you will, that I am not good at this, and I am good at that, or I cannot be this, or I cannot be that. And we see that also with adults, like when I see them in my practice, when people come in and they have all this fixed mind, and it can affect the person and the child until they're adults. You know, you see them there, you see adults in their adulthood, and they have this issue.
Oh, sure. Like when they go to their parents and they have maybe a math homework problem. Oh, well, don't ask me. I'm not good in math. Go ask your father.
Yes, yes, yes.
And oh, so that's an option to not be good in math. You're not good in math. Well, maybe I'm like you. Maybe I'm not good in math.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. So tell us a success story in your professional career. You have 19 years of educational career. So what kind of story do you have? A story, success story you can share with us, with the students, with your whatever it is, something that can encourage and let the audience know more about you and about your success, if you will.
Oh, thank you. The first one that just popped into my head was when I taught summer school, and I do that periodically to teach summer school, and you're with a very small class for about 4 weeks to remediate areas that they could not show mastery during the whole full school year. So you get to know them very well, very quickly. And the reason why I love summer school is because you can really make a huge amount of difference, because not only are you spending time with them for those 4 weeks to remediate their skills, they are also getting that instruction when the other students aren't. So I don't know if you're familiar with the concept of the summer slide, where when children are not in school all summer, they can lose up to 2 months of instruction. Yes. Right? So they're getting the remediation, they're not having the summer slide. And there was one student who was having difficulties bringing in his readings, but we kept on working. We found ways to make sure that he was successful. And I saw him a year or two later. And he said, Mrs. Ozgur, he was sitting on the wall outside of the YMCA. He said, you'll never guess what happened. I entered a poetry contest and I won.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. So of course I went to his school and contacted his English teacher and to verify, is this for real? And she said, yes, absolutely. Like, he won the school's poetry contest. So, he went from having this sense of being a failure to not only daring to enter because he wanted to and he had the confidence to enter, he actually won. So, a lot of times that happens with these students. They underperform, but it doesn't mean that their skills aren't there.
Yeah.
It's just for whatever reason, things happen. They did not perform during the school year, which can really rob them of their confidence. So I use those 4 weeks in summer school to build their confidence and build up their skills. So that's one. And another one is a student who parents came to me, wanted some private tutoring. He wasn't doing too well at that particular time. Again, the type of talk where he was never a good writer. He had that identity. And after working with me for a year, not only was he passing, but the family decided to enter into a school district that had a STEM academy. So I worked with him to do the timed writing, which is, completely different from essay writing, to be able to write on demand. We worked on it, and as it turned out, he got into the STEM Academy, and now he's working really hard and he's being very successful. And that was a huge leap, to go from having difficulty in a regular classroom to now thriving in a STEM Academy.
Wow, imagine the impact of that on his confidence. And that's testimony to your effort, to your success.
And it's also the parents being supportive. The parents, you talked about trusting my methods, that I'm doing things maybe a little differently, but I'm doing it with a purpose and with a reason. They trusted the process. And I have to say, he's thriving in the STEM Academy because he's learning so much, but he's not, his grades are not always A's.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how you learn, because if you're making A's all the time, you're not getting a whole lot of feedback. When you're not doing well,
Yeah.
and you get the feedback, and then you're growing. So a lot of it too is trusting, not being so fixated on the end product, but buying into the process.
Absolutely, absolutely. How about an obstacle or a challenge or a challenging student that you kept working with them, but for some reason it didn't work with that child?
Yeah. When I see that happen, a lot of times, from my perspective, my experience has been there's a disconnect between what's happening in the classroom every day and what's going home.
At home, yeah.
So because I know what's happening in those 45 minutes with me every day. They go home, something happens on the bus ride home. I don't know what, but they go home. Their recollection of what happened in class may be different, or the way they internalize it, or they say something at home. And when we start connecting the dots, the more that the parents and I are on the same page and we talk, then we can start to troubleshoot and see where things don't align.
Where the disconnect is.
But right, but the frustration sometimes is when that communication between home and school is not consistent and not always there. Mm-hmm. That's when it's hard, because you feel like you're starting over every day when they come back into the classroom.
Yeah.
So because there's no carryover from the one day to the next.
Yeah, because I think progress needs collaborative effort from home and from school. So you cannot do it on your own, and home cannot do it on their own. It has to be like collaborative effort for everyone. And if it's not happening, or if there are distractions at home for whatever reason, or distraction in the school for whatever reason also, that can also be a hindrance for their progress. So what are your future plans?
Well, right now, my future plans,
Professional plans.
I'm right. Because there's so many, I'm trying to think what I want to say. Right now, I'm in the process of writing the 4 Verbs of Love,
a book,
because that's one of my
Wow.
So the 1 Million Kisses developed into this parenting initiative, the trauma informed initiative, and the 4 Verbs of Love is one of the workshops that I deliver, because there's so much parenting advice out there, and it's so good, and it can be overwhelming.
True.
How do you whittle that down to something that is very easy to remember, easy to implement? So I turned it into an acronym. That LOVE stands for listen, observe, validate, and empathize. Mm-hmm. And so I take that acronym and talk about the ways to actively listen, how to observe, what should you be looking for in a child along the different developmental stages, the importance of validating the child's perspective, and then lastly, the empathy, which is some of that neuroscience piece of empathizing with the child. What is it like to be a 3-year-old, to be a 9-year-old, to be a 13-year-old? And when you put all of those together and you repeat that across the ages, that is something that I think can build confidence, because the child feels that they are understood, that they're trusted, and it's a great foundation to pave the way for future success. So I'm writing that right now.
Wow, that's very exciting. I'm looking forward to reading that.
Thank you.
Thank you. So for those who are who have joined us, if you have any questions, please write them in the comments. I will be happy to respond to you and have my guests to respond to you. I don't have questions so far. So how can the audience reach you, Jennifer?
One way to reach me would be through my Facebook page, the speaker page, which is Jenformation. Mm-hmm. And then I also have an email. Mm-hmm. I have a bunch of emails that I use for different purposes. The one that people can use to reach out to me is Jennifer Ozgur Author. And you spell Ozgur, well, Jennifer is with one N, Jen, one N, what am I saying? Two N's,
I was looking, I
Jennifer.
said, no, it's
Right.
fine.
There's one N for Jen for Genformation, but two N's, IFER, OZGUR, author, AUTHOR, at Gmail. And we can
We
put
can
that in
put
the
that in the
comments and
comments at the
stuff for
end.
people.
Yeah. How
Yeah.
about for,
And
I'm sorry.
my phone number too. That's fine.
Wonderful. So how, this is also the same way for people to reach you for the workshops.
Yes, and people can message me on Facebook. It's really easy. If people find the Genformation and like it and share it to get the word out, and there's information about the different workshops that I offer, and then people can just, it says message me right there. And I'm on Facebook a lot. So, and I have daily posts on different things about neuroscience, trends in education, in parenting.
Yeah,
and then people can always,
yeah, they're very informative. Yeah. So, and for the workshops, so you do them in different schools in the area?
Yes, I do. So what I'm hoping is when people see this video, they contact their principals or their PTA president and say that you really want Jennifer Ozgur to come and speak to the parenting series that you have, because I know there's lots of schools that have different parenting series. I attend them a lot because as a parent myself, I want to learn what's going on. And I'm also looking at the way people structure their workshops to best serve parents. And that's what people can do, is to tell their PTOs and get some more parents behind them to do that with the schools, and also organizations too. I work with different organizations. So if you have a faith-based organization you want me to come in, or if you're through the Kiwanis or Lions Club, or if you have your own parenting group, then I would love to come and speak.
Wonderful, wonderful. I hope people listen what you are saying and try to contact you and contract their schools to benefit from your expertise. So again, if you have a question, please put them in the comments. I don't have questions so far. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for joining me here. I learned a lot from you, and this was a very nice interview. And if you like this, for the viewers, if you like this video, please hit like, share, and I will download that on my YouTube channel, so you can also watch it there. You can hit like and subscribe. Thank you so much again, Jennifer, and for your valuable information, and for joining my show. I really appreciate it, and I look forward for more collaboration with you in the future.
I would love that. The honor's been all mine. I'm so grateful that you were able to speak about such an important topic, and you're doing great work, and what you do is so needed and so valued, and I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you too. Thank you so much. So we will have another interview on Tuesday, and looking forward for the following speaker and guest on Tuesday and Wednesday. Thank you so much, Jennifer. And until next time, I wish you a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.